Good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you're stationed. Thank you for joining in. My name is A Marvelous. Welcome to this YouTube channel. It's called Hollywood Decoded. And this channel is primarily set up to break down TV shows and movies that are prevalent in modern times, sometimes in the past. So thank you for joining me. I greatly appreciate it. If you like the content, subscribe, like, share. Let the commercials run and all that good stuff, and definitely give feedback, because this is all about changing the conversation and changing the narrative for what's being given to us through the media. So with that, this particular video is going to talk about the Netflix show Ozark. It just came out this year around the fall, and Ozark is on Netflix, and the subject matter is based on a financial planner. Him and his business partner, they have pretty much a financial planning business. Spoiler alert, by the way. But the show is based on this company, this financial planning company. They are basically money launderers for this big drug cartel. And as it turns out, the main character, played by Justin Bateman, he finds out that his partners in this company, they were actually stealing money. And so about, millions of dollars came up missing. So the big drug boss approached him, as like, where's the money at? And so they all tried to cover up their tracks. Long story short, as it turns out, the main character, played by Justin Bateman, he didn't know that they were stealing money. So once everything came to light, the big drug boss killed his partners and was about to kill the main character, until he made a proposition that he could find another place that he already had in mind to launder even more money. So what this whole episode showed was a few things. It showed society's relationships in terms of marital themes and its relationship to infidelity and also money. Because the main character, his wife was cheating on him, and his wife didn't know that he knew. And the reason why money and marriage is linked is because in this country, financial situations can put pressure on couples. But in this particular episode, before I get to the infidelity factor, the major theme was banking. If you notice, this year in 2017, there's been a lot of themes that the media has been pushing on us. And a lot of themes that you see in the media, they're planted there in order for you and I and all of us to think a certain way. If they keep pushing the same type of stories constantly, then it creates a society that automatically marches to the same drum. And if everyone can march to the same drum, it's easy to control them, because every person is thinking the same way. And if you know automatically how people think, then you can automatically predict their behavior. So that's what's happening in this country. So this episode of Ozark, it touches on money, because the drug dealer, the big boss, accepted the character's proposition to launder more money. However, he had to get the $8 million that was owed to him within 48 hours. Now, there's one particular scene in this episode that was very telling, and it shed light into how this banking system works. Because most people, when they use banks, they have no idea how the banking system works. And I'm going to explain why that's important, and why this year you're seeing everything about cryptocurrency, and why everything is being pushed in the media. When you see these TV shows, you have to look at when these TV shows are released. Hollywood is used as a tool to condition people, and they condition people for things that's going to happen in the present, right? So when I say they, it's like imagine a circle within a circle of individuals that play their part. And in the middle of the circle, you have individuals that have the most wealth, most real estate, and the most consolidated power, that has the ability to influence everyone that has less than them, right? So the banking system is the central institution that is used to control the world. And this episode touches on that. There was a scene when he had to go to the bank and withdraw his $8 million. Now he called his bank ahead of time because he knew getting that much money instantly was not possible because banks don't keep $8 million in their banks at once. Most people think they keep a lot of money, but they don't. So the banks were giving him resistance. They didn't want him to withdraw all of that money. They was trying to say you're going to pay more taxes. It's going to be, more penalties for withdrawing that much. So they was doing everything in their power to get this dude from not withdrawing money. Now, why is that the case? The reason why is because this banking system operates off of what's called fractional reserve banking, right? So when you see a Chase or a Bank of America, all of these banks, they have to answer to the Federal Reserve, right? That's where they borrow their money. That's where they get their, their lending capacities from the Federal Reserve. Now, the Federal Reserve is not a government agency. Some people call it quasi-governmental. It's not. It's private. It's held by a consortium of other bankers, right? And these Federal Reserve banks actually report to the major bank in England. But that's another story. But the reason why he was not able to get all of his $8 million was because banks on average only keep about 10% of overall deposits that bank, that branch has. So if that bank has, let's say, 2,000 customers, and those 2,000 customers deposit a total of, let's say, $3 million, the bank only keeps $300,000 at that local branch. So your bank, if you go there, they don't keep the total amount of deposits on reserve because they don't have it, right? The way this banking system operates, the financial system operates in this country is that they lend money that they don't have. So in this episode, he knew that, and he was telling them this. And as he was telling them this, they got more nervous. So it's very important to understand why a show like Ozark is being pushed right now. Because in 2017, you notice what? It's been a big push towards cryptocurrency, right? So anytime this country is about to shift, the individuals that have the power to influence the majority, they have to put out movies and TV shows to condition us on what's coming. Because if we're not conditioned when we see it, the way the body reacts is that it can go into a state of shock. And it's hard to predict what the human being can do if they see something that's so overwhelming to their system, right? They might revolt, they might rebel, they might cause havoc, and that's an unpredictable variable that people in power cannot have. So the way that is calmed down is that they have Hollywood, right? And Hollywood, in this conditioning tool and its actors and directors and producers, is used in a slow way to slowly introduce things that have already been in effect decades before, right? That's why a lot of these movies, as time progresses, they take on more real themes. And that's why truth is stranger than fiction, because as we see things in the news, we almost always have a movie or TV show frame of reference, because events that happen to us that we see in the media go in tandem with these TV shows. So when you see a show like Ozark, that's because this year one of the major themes was preparing everyone for a financial reset that's coming. And that's why you have cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and that's why you have a huge theme towards commerce. The Dow Jones has reached the highest it's ever been, right? It's broke records. There's a Bitcoin went up $9,000 in 2017. So it's very important for these things to be slowly phased in, because most people don't understand what's happening. So if you have different TV shows with different themes all centered around one big objective, overall your mind stores things that we don't even understand is stored. So in Ozark, this is shown, it was teaching us about how this banking system operates, that these banks don't keep all of our money in there. That is why they have limits on how much you can withdraw. That is why if you were to take out a large sum of money, They would request you to have a seat and talk to you and see what it's for. And in this scene, not only when he actually got to the bank to pick up his money, the feds were there, right? So imagine you go to pick up your money, millions of dollars, and the next thing you know, the authorities are there. And they had a piece of paper in this episode and they wanted him to read it because they thought he was wired. They figured the reason why he was taking this money out, it had to be something wrong. So they thought that maybe he was being extorted or it was a kidnapping. So the bank got the authorities involved. Now this is important because it makes you realize that when you deal with a bank, you don't own your own money, right? Once you put your money inside of a banking house, they regulate your money. They dictate the terms of how you can withdraw it, and they restrict it. This all came back from the Great Depression, because when the Great Depression happened, everyone was running for their money to withdraw from the bank. And when they did this, it caused a run on the bank, right? And the bank started losing money because everyone was taking their money out. And if there's no money in the bank can't lend money. And the bank, if they can't lend money, they can't charge interest. And if they can't charge interest, they can't get wealthy. That's how the banking system works. So after the Great Depression, when this happened, they said, okay, we have to stop this from happening in the future, right? So they put a restriction on gold, right? Big confiscation program, and they started changing how everything worked. After this came about, Social Security came, the birth certificate came, all of these things started to take in place in order to control how income is generated, how banking is done, and how our relationship with banking can be regulated, monitored, and controlled. So Ozark is a modern day example of what happened in history, but it's also a conditioning tool for what's going to happen in the future. So when you see this scene, the reason why the authorities were involved when he tried to take out his money was because banking isn't just a matter of you depositing and withdrawing. Banking is actually an act of revolution, right? And this country knows that. The power structure knows that. So they have authority figures like FinCEN and, Treasury and SEC that has to regulate human affairs when it comes to how we deal with money. So anytime you deal with a bank, the undercurrent is that you're dealing with authorities, right? Because you're dealing with Treasury. And if you're dealing with Treasury, you're dealing with a monitoring system, because this country is ran by individuals that control us through banking. So anyway, in this episode, he wasn't trying to hear it. He was like, listen, this is my money. If I want to take it out, I want to take it out. I know you have feds here, so you expected a kidnapping. In the worst case scenario, you would have to pay the ransom. So I know my money is here. So he demanded his money, plus he knew how banking operated. So long story short, they gave him his money, right? And he walked out the bank with almost $8 million. So this is a crucial episode. It's the first episode, so it's just giving you a primer on what's going to happen. But it also shows that we need to understand banking systems. We need to understand how to regulate, because what's happening now is there's going to be a shift in how we deal with money, right? They're going to make it to where cash is going to be used less. And that's why the push to crypto is happening. That's why you have shows like Ozark, because it's going to condition you to have more of an awareness on how money works. So when you see these things happen in the media and you see these slow changes when you bank in your everyday life, you'll have a frame of reference for it. So instead of reacting violently, you'll be conditioned to gradually accept change without resistance. So that's why you have shows in general. And Ozark is a particular show that's preparing us for a new financial reset. Anyway, this episode also covered infidelity. The wife of the main character was cheating on him, but he didn't say anything. He just had her on video, and he kept watching the video over and over because he couldn't believe it, right? So it's also showing how in this country, the family dynamic is something that has to seriously be looked at, because divorce is like at 50% or more. So everything as we know it is changing from whatever frame of reference that we had, right? There's other TV shows that's actually challenging conventional monogamy, conventional marriage. As you see, this show is challenging how we view or educating us on money. So this episode dealt with infidelity. And that's because infidelity now is ridiculous, but our marital structure is also changing. Period. It's also changing, and it's becoming something that people are actually exploring alternative methods of marriage to avoid the negative results that they've been getting through monogamy. So this particular episode was it was very good. It was very good. And it also showed drug dealers' relationship um, with money and banks, because even the drug dealers understand how to get around banking things. And if anyone could look up Alpha Bay, there's a gentleman named Alexander Kazes, and he created an underground market to actually distribute drugs, right? Actually, you can get fake IDs. Anything in the black market you could pretty much get, but he only accepted cryptocurrencies. This happened in July 2017. So when you see these shows like Ozark, pay close attention to finance, because finance is one of the themes of 2017, and it's preparing us for what's going to happen next year. In 2018, it's going to be complete financial upheaval and a shift. And if people are not aware of that, if they're not conditioned for it slowly, who knows how people will react. So that's why you will see different shows and different movies with constant financial themes, because it's getting us into a new method of behavior. So that's what this first episode was about. Basically exploring an individual's relationship with the banking system if they have a lot of money in there, and the difficulties of extracting it, and what he had to do in order to get his money out. So this is crucial. So if you have no clue about banking, or you like banking, this first episode was a good study tool to kind of see the relationship with banks and how much control they have over us. So that's it. Look forward to hearing from you all. There will be I'm going to review every episode. I'm going to review constant TV shows. So please hit the bell, subscribe if you like. Your feedback, critiques, whatever, just start the conversation. And thank you for joining me. Peace.